Scientists named the deepest biological zone on Earth Hadal, after Hades, the Greek underworld. Challenger Deep drops 36,000 feet into crushing, lightless void. But Enoch was already there. Enoch was the seventh generation from Adam. He walked with God and was taken, never tasted death. He didn't write theology, he wrote geography. Specific locations, specific structures, specific beings assigned to specific places. And the map he left behind points directly to the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. 3,000 years before HMS Challenger sounded the deepest point on Earth, Enoch was recording its description in exact architectural detail. That is not a coincidence. That is testimony. But here's the detail that everyone missed at the time. The Book of Enoch, chapters 17 through 21, doesn't describe a spiritual abstraction. It describes a physical place. Enoch is carried to the ends of the earth and shown what Uriel calls a deep place, a location marked by columns of heavenly fire rising from its walls, a floor of dark, smooth stone, and a void above it that has no heaven and no earth foundation beneath it. Read that again. No heaven above, no earth foundation beneath. A suspended, sealed hollow, floating between the crust and the abyss below it. That is not the language of metaphor. That is structural description. That is geometry. The floor Enoch describes is not soil, not sand, not the familiar earth of the surface world. It is described as dark stone, smooth, ancient, not of this world's ordinary construction. When modern deep-sea submersibles finally reached the floor of Challenger Deep, what they found was basaltic crust, dark, smooth, ancient volcanic rock, billions of years old, formed in fire and compressed under unimaginable weight. Enoch's words fit the physical reality of that floor so precisely that the match cannot be dismissed as general or vague. Above the void, Enoch describes roaring waters pressing down, not surrounding, pressing, from above, a ceiling of water. The water column above Challenger Deep is nearly 7 miles of ocean, a constant, crushing downward force measured at over 1,000 times atmospheric pressure at the surface. That water doesn't just surround the trench, it presses, it bears down. The weight of it is the defining physical feature of the location, and Enoch described it as the defining feature of the prison. Uriel tells Enoch directly that this place holds those who have transgressed the commandment of the Lord. It is sealed, Uriel says, until the day of judgment. Not until they repent, not until a term of service ends, until judgment. That word carries enormous weight. It means the seal is not temporary in any ordinary sense. It is cosmically timed. It will hold until the moment the entire created order reaches its appointed conclusion. That's how serious the crime was. That's how permanent the sentence is. Everything was in place. Enoch just didn't know what everything was building toward. But we are beginning to. Mount Hermon, a summit in the northern reaches of the ancient Levant, standing over 9,000 feet above sea level. This is where it began. 200 watchers, beings described in the Book of Enoch as members of the divine host, assigned to observe and guard humanity, descended from that mountain in a coordinated act of rebellion. Not a spontaneous fall, a deliberate, organized defection. They took oaths together. They made a pact. 200 beings who knew exactly what they were doing and did it anyway. The mechanism of the crime matters. The Watchers took human women and produced offspring, the Nephilim, hybrid giants of extraordinary size and appetite. The Nephilim consumed everything. They consumed the animals. They consumed the crops. They consumed humanity itself, filling the earth with violence on a scale that Genesis describes as the reason for the flood. The earth was corrupt. The earth was filled with violence. That was the Nephilim's legacy, a world so thoroughly contaminated that the only solution was to reset it with water. But the Nephilim's physical death didn't end them. Their spirits, the hybrid product of divine and human material, had no place in the natural order of death. They were condemned to roam the earth as disembodied forces, what we now call demons. That identity isn't a medieval invention or a theological abstraction. It is Enoch's direct testimony about the origin of a class of spiritual entities still operating in this world. The Watchers themselves received a different sentence. They were bound in chains and cast into the deep places. Enoch names the prison, Dudael. He describes it as beneath the earth and under the waters. Physical chains, physical stone, physical darkness. He is not describing spiritual separation in symbolic language. He is describing a location with physical properties, physical barriers, and physical occupants who are physically restrained. The chains are real. The stone is real. The darkness is total and unbroken. That specificity is what makes the Book of Enoch so dangerous to the institutions that buried it. Metaphors can be managed. Coordinates cannot. Picture the surface of the Pacific Ocean on a calm day. Blue, vast, ordinary. Now understand that 36,000 feet below that surface, there is a slot in the crust of the earth that swallows everything above it and returns nothing. The Mariana Trench stretches 2,550 kilometers across the western Pacific floor. Its deepest point, Challenger Deep, measures 10,935 meters from the surface. HMS Challenger first sounded it in 1875, dragging a weighted line into water so deep the crew couldn't fully process what the numbers meant. The pressure at the floor of Challenger Deep reaches 1,086 bar. That is over 1,000 times the atmospheric pressure you feel standing on the surface of the Earth right now. No light penetrates below 1,000 meters. Challenger Deep sits nearly 11 times deeper than that threshold. It is not merely dark down there. It is a darkness that has never been broken by natural light in the entire history of the planet. And then, science made the one decision that changed everything. They named it. The biological zone of the deepest trenches, the zone below 6,000 meters, was designated hadal, from Hades, the Greek underworld, the realm of the dead. Scientists who built their careers on empirical measurement and materialist frameworks looked at this place and reached, instinctively, for the language of the ancient underworld. They couldn't explain why. They didn't try. They just knew the name fit. The floor composition confirms what Enoch recorded. Basaltic crust, dark, smooth, ancient volcanic rock, formed in the deepest geological processes of the planet. The same description Enoch gives for the prison floor. Not similar, the same. Dark stone, smooth. Not of this world's ordinary surface construction. The trench is a subduction zone. The Pacific Plate is being driven beneath the Mariana Plate, the Earth literally swallowing itself at this precise location. One plate disappearing beneath another, dragging everything above it downward, sealing the gap behind it. The geology itself is a mechanism of burial, a one-way door built into the structure of the planet. Stop for a moment, because what you've just heard, the naming, the floor, the pressure, the geometry, That's only the first layer, and the layers beneath it are heavier. Drop a comment right now with the detail that hit you hardest so far. Not because it's a formality, but because this conversation matters, and the people watching this alongside you need to see that others are paying attention too. If this is your first time here, subscribe. This channel goes where others won't. Not for shock value, because the record demands it. Every episode of this series builds on the last. You need the full map, not just one piece. The picture that's forming across these episodes is not something you can assemble from a single video. Each piece connects to the next with a precision that mirrors the precision of Enoch's own record. Structured, sequential, cumulative. Skip one layer, and the architecture above it loses its foundation. The clock was already ticking. Enoch just couldn't hear it yet. But he recorded everything he was shown, with the understanding that the record itself was the mission. He wasn't writing for his generation. He was writing for a generation that would have the tools to confirm what he saw. That generation is here. The tools exist. The confirmation is arriving in real time. Through scientific instruments and genomic sequencers and deep-sea submersibles that cost hundreds of millions of dollars. All of them, without knowing it, verifying the testimony of a man who walked with God before the flood. The truth Enoch recorded wasn't meant to stay buried, and neither is this conversation. What comes next in this investigation is the biological evidence, and it is the strangest confirmation of all. In the 21st century, genomic analysis reached the floor of Challenger Deep. What the sequencers found there broke the expected pattern completely. Microorganisms living at the bottom of the trench carry gene sequences found nowhere else on Earth. Not similar to surface organisms. Not related to deep-sea species from other locations. Unique. Isolated. Ancient. As if they have been developing in total biological separation for an incomprehensible span of time, behind a barrier that nothing crossed in either direction. Hirandelia gigas, the hadal amphipod, a crustacean thriving at pressures that should make life biochemically impossible. The cell membranes of these organisms are chemically unlike anything found in surface life. They carry a different molecular architecture, adapted to a pressure environment so extreme that standard biochemistry cannot function there. Life at Challenger Deep didn't just adapt to its environment. It became something fundamentally different from the life above it. The microbial mats on the trench floor operate on a metabolism so slow it barely registers by surface standards. They don't feed on sunlight. They don't connect to the surface food chain. They feed on chemical energy from the rock itself, from the ancient basaltic crust beneath them, drawing sustenance from geological processes that have been running in darkness for billions of years. They are sealed into their own order, their own system, their own world, running parallel to ours, but completely cut off from it. You'd think someone would have said something. Nobody did. No headline connected the biological isolation of Challenger Deep to the ancient description of a sealed prison. No scientific paper noted that the genomic uniqueness of hadal life mirrors the description of a place deliberately separated from the living world. The confirmation sat in the data, unacknowledged. Enoch describes the prison as a place where even the condemned are cut off from the living world, a sealed environment producing its own strange order. The biology of Challenger Deep is that strange order made visible, isolated, ancient, operating by rules that don't apply anywhere else on the planet. Everything the trench had built was about to work against them. Lay Enoch's description next to the geological survey of the Mariana Trench and hold them side by side. The alignment is not approximate. It is structural. Enoch describes a void without heaven above and without earth foundation beneath. The Mariana Trench is not resting on solid mantle. It is a slot in the crust suspended over a subduction gap, one plate being driven beneath another, creating a void in the geological structure that has no stable floor in the conventional sense. The earth beneath Challenger Deep is in motion. It is being consumed. The foundation is not fixed. Enoch's language, without earth foundation beneath, is precise geological description. Now, Enoch could have stopped there. They didn't. The columns of fire he describes rising from the walls of the prison correspond directly to the hydrothermal vents mapped along the walls of the Mariana Trench. Superheated water, reaching temperatures above 400 degrees Celsius, erupts from the rock in mineral columns, rising through the darkness. Columns of fire, rising from the stone, exactly as Enoch described. The vents were not discovered until 1977, more than 2 millennia after Enoch recorded their existence. The roaring waters pressing from above. The water column above Challenger Deep exerts over 8 tons of pressure per square inch on the floor of the trench. It doesn't surround the space, it bears down on it with a force that is constant, total, and crushing. A pressure ceiling. Enoch's word choice, pressing, is not poetic. It is physically accurate. The sealed gates described as great iron chains. The subduction mechanics of the trench mean that nothing rises from the floor. Material that descends into a subduction zone does not return. The geology itself is a one-way lock. What goes down, stays down. The Earth's own structure enforces the seal. Total darkness, smooth stone floor. Confirmed at Challenger Deep, basaltic, lightless, geologically ancient rock. Every architectural feature Enoch recorded has a physical counterpart at the exact location science named after the underworld. The Mariana Trench does not sit randomly on the ocean floor. Its position is specific, deliberate in the geological sense, and aligned with something older than human memory. It occupies the Western Pacific, the largest, deepest ocean basin on Earth, covering more surface area than all the land on the planet combined. If you were designing a location to be maximally remote, maximally inaccessible, maximally hidden from any pre-industrial civilization, you would place it here. Enoch's cosmology positions the sealed prison beyond the ends of the Earth. In the pre-flood world, before the breakup of the supercontinent, before the oceans reached their current configuration, the Pacific Rim was the farthest, most inaccessible edge of the known world. It was the end, the outer boundary, the place where the land ran out and the deep water began, and beyond that, nothing a human being could reach. The geological record of Pangaea's breakup tells its own story. As the supercontinent fractured and the tectonic plates drove outward, the deepest subduction point formed at the farthest edge of that expansion. The Earth's own mechanics placed the deepest point at the most remote location, as if the structure of the planet was engineered to position the prison at the ends of the Earth, exactly as Enoch described. Flood geology adds another layer. Genesis chapter 7 verse 11 records that the breaking up of the fountains of the Great Deep preceded the rain. The fountains of the Great Deep, the subterranean water systems and geological structures beneath the crust, ruptured. That catastrophic geological event would have driven sealed structures deeper, compressed them further, reinforced the barriers around them. The flood itself may have deepened and hardened the prison, adding layers of geological seal on top of what was already there. The trench sits at the convergence of the Pacific Plate, the Philippine Plate, and the Mariana Plate. 3 tectonic forces meeting at a single point. A triple lock of geological power, holding the deepest place on Earth in compression from 3 directions simultaneously. This is not random placement. This is a location that the structure of the planet itself treats as a sealed point. There's a reason this story is still talked about today, because it doesn't end with the sealing. It ends with the opening. Enoch chapter 10 verse 12 states that the watchers are bound for 70 generations, and then brought to the great judgment and cast into the fire. 70 generations. From Enoch's time, counting forward through the biblical genealogies, that timeline places the end of the binding period within a range that aligns with a prophetic arc running through the entire scriptural record. The number is not symbolic. Enoch uses specific numbers throughout his record as precise data. 70 generations is a countdown. Revelation 9 verses 1 and 2 echoes this with unmistakable precision. The fifth trumpet sounds, and the shaft of the abyss is opened. Smoke pours out, smoke like the smoke of a great furnace. The language is Enochian. The structure is Enochian. John's vision in Revelation draws directly from the geography Enoch recorded, because John was seeing the same location from the other end of the timeline. Enoch saw the ceiling. John saw the opening. Revelation 20 verses 1 through 3 describes an angel descending with the key of the abyss and a great chain. The key, the chain. The same language Enoch used to describe the original sealing of the Watchers. The vocabulary is not accidental. It is the same event described from both ends, the lock and the unlocking, separated by the full span of human history. The geological instability of the Mariana Trench region is not incidental. The Western Pacific subduction zones generate some of the most powerful seismic activity on the planet. The Earth is under strain at the exact location of the prison. The crust is moving. The plates are grinding. The geological lock is under pressure from forces that have been building for millennia, which, looking back, was either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid to seal something in the most geologically active region of the planet's surface. That 70-generation countdown would come back to haunt the sealed ones. But that's getting ahead of the story. Modern oceanography named the deepest zone hadal. Even secular science reached for the underworld here. Subscribe and watch the next episode now.